Hello, class. My name is Elizabeth Malmstead, and I'm going to give you my real story on real property using the acronyms for the word real. The R in real stands for resist. 12 scores and 3 years ago, on July 4th, 1776, our forefathers resisted tyranny by adopting the final version of the Declaration of Independence. It states, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." The words pursuit of happiness had replaced the words pursuit of property. The reason as to why our forefathers made this change is unfounded, but what I can tell you is that these words are interrelated. For without security, happiness is difficult to achieve. And without property, there is no security. It is important to note that although owning property may be the key to freedom, the unfettered pursuit of property can lead to its own negative consequences. I have seen this not only in the fraudulent practices of many financial institutions, which had contributed to the world's largest housing crisis, but have seen this in many governments. Whether banks or governments are trying to remove one's right to a home, it is important that we as people stick together and do as our forefathers had done 12 scores and 3 years ago, and resist against the obstruction of our unalienable rights. R in real is for resistance. Resistance from the obstruction of our inalienable rights. The next part of my real story is E. The E in real stands for education. My teachers have always said education is the key to success. But what my teachers fail to tell me is that it's not the key to freedom. If you would have asked me in high school where I saw myself in 5 years, I would have said married with a child and possibly working a part-time job. At the time, college seemed like an unattainable goal. Not one person in my family held a degree. I applied to college because it had been a requirement for one of my classes. To my surprise, I ended up getting in. Instead of getting pregnant at age 18, as expected, I ended up going to Sonoma State University. While in school, I learned about our Constitution. I learned about civil liberties. I learned about crime. I learned about inequality. And I learned about poverty. My newfound knowledge brought a new love in our Constitution, and I had been determined to use it to bring positive change. In looking to strengthen my power, I decided to go on to law school at the University of San Francisco School of Law. While I would like to say that after law school, I ended up working for a firm, such a fact did not play in my deck of cards. As I said earlier, although education may be the key to success, it is not the key to freedom. I had an education, but my freedom had been taken because I had no wealth. But before we get to the L in this story of mine, I would like to discuss the advocate side of me. E in real stands for education. And my education contributed to my love for our unalienable rights. A in REAL stands for advocate. While in San Francisco, my love for advocacy flourished. I became vegan after hanging out with PETA in Berkeley. I got to hang out with groups such as the National Lawyers Guild, a group of progressive lawyers, and conducted research with Project Censored, a nonprofit media watchdog organization. I had also presented a research paper to the UN through my participation with the advocacy group, Human Rights Advocates. I was also fortunate enough to have studied abroad for every summer I had been in law school. I studied in both Europe and Asia. I had not only learned about property law in communist countries, but also learned about the struggles the world had faced in ending imperialism. I studied at some of the most esteemed universities in the world, including Trinity College in Dublin and Peking University in Beijing. I learned about the struggles faced by groups such as the IRA of Ireland and the Basques of Spain. I also learned that, unlike our own system, the concept of private real property does not exist in all countries. In many countries, one does not own the land, but only holds a right to use the land as granted by their government. I also learned how mortgages can build wealth, but yet at the same time, it can lead to a worldwide housing crisis. I have also learned about takings committed by governments, banks, paramilitary groups, and by common people looking to take back at what they thought rightfully should have been theirs. I learned about trade, love, war, politics, alliances, and cross-national treaties. My travels abroad and my advocacy at home brought a new love in my life that expanded my love for our Constitution. It brought a love for reconciliation. Reconciliation after war, reconciliation after domination, and reconciliation after the unfettered pursuit of property. I hope to utilize this love to heal communities that have been taken advantage of and help heal the scars that have impacted families that do not have a secure home to retreat to. But as great my life had been learning about the laws across the land, my life took a drastic change after I tried leaving an unhealthy relationship. A in REAL stands for advocate. I want to be an advocate for one's right to a home. The L in REAL stands for life. During my last year of law school, I had found out that the guy I had been dating and living with for the last 18 years had a secret life. He had 2 kids from 2 different mothers behind my back. He never told me about the kids, nor had he told me he had been seeing other women. Furthermore, his family had hated me, and they had been using their connections to destroy my chances at economic freedom. His family was well connected and wealthy. His grandfather had large shares in Pan Am, and my ex was fortunate enough to have gone to boarding school in Pebble Beach. Not wanting me to be successful in my endeavors, whether it be because of a hidden trust in my name or because they did not appreciate my affiliations, which differed from their own Wall Street background. His family looked for ways to ruin my reputation, including framing me for a crime. Consequently, I had been homeless for 2 years, and instead of taking the bar, I had been turned into a convict. I had spent over 140 days in jail. It's, I had spent over 140 days in pretrial detention and was unable to post bail as I owned no property. To be honest, I don't understand how this happens in real life. But what I have learned from this experience is that greed and hate are real things. I hope that more are working to assure that every family has a home instead of trying to put people out of their homes. Greed and hate are unfortunately the driving forces that keep many from having a home. I have seen this not only through redlining practices committed by many mortgage companies, but have seen this in forced evictions in cities such as New York and San Francisco. I would like to dedicate my life to assure that no greed or hate is too strong to put someone out of their home. I'm going to keep speaking on injustice, and I'm not going to let the unlawful use of force to keep me in silence. The L in real stands for life, and I dedicate my life to protecting the inalienable right to a home. I would like to not only secure my own home, but secure a home for others. I believe this course will help in my endeavors. Thank you, and I look forward to having you in my class.